National Police Commissioner Khehla Sitole has made representations to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Sitole was served with a suspension notice 2 weeks ago. In January, a court ruled he and his deputies had breached their duties. This for not declassifying and providing documents to the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. In March, another judge dismissed an application by Sitole for leave to appeal. Sitole will now have to wait for the president to make a decision on his future. Our Barry Bateman is tracking this story and he joins me now in studio. Barry, good morning. Are you well?
Yeah, doing very well. I hope you're doing well on the Archer's birthday.
Yes, exactly, isn't it? 90th birthday. What a milestone. Okay, let's talk about this one. So, the notice of suspension, what brought this about?
Well, what we understand, the basis for this notice of suspension relates to that court matter earlier this year, which was brought about. It's linked to the so-called grabber case, the iView grabber case, where it is alleged several years ago, around about the time of the ANC's conference, there was a move by several senior members within crime intelligence. There was a meeting at a hotel in Pretoria where it was discussed that they would buy this grabber at an inflated price of about 45 million rand. The money would flow from crime intelligence to this particular company, iView, and the purpose of those funds being moved was in order to get cash out so that they could buy votes at the ANC conference. That is the underlying issue of the allegation. This was investigated by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. You must remember Robert McBride was then head of the organization at the time, so he was ensuring that this was going ahead. He's no longer there. But part of the sticking point that they encountered even at that time was that there were certain documents that were not being declassified rather. And the buck stopped with Khehla Sitole and other senior members of the police management. They had to declassify these documents. This went to court to force the declassification. And it was in that ruling earlier this year that it was found that Sitole and other senior members, they had breached their responsibilities, that they had been frustrating these investigations by IPID. And that's where these findings were made against. And we understand that to be the basis for the action being taken by the President against the sitting National Commissioner of Police.
Now, Barry, this is just the latest in the history of suspensions and dismissals of National Police Commissioners. I mean, what state is our police force in? I mean, security for the country?
It's deeply worrying. I was chatting to a colleague a short while ago, and we cannot discount the fact that we are going to a national elections in a month's time. That in itself is quite a significant security event for the country. There would be mass mobilization. The police would have to be out. When you've got a massive change of leadership like this, assuming that the President, of course, responds to suspend the National Commissioner, you would have that change in the leadership. It certainly doesn't bode well for the stability of the organisation, but it's certainly not a new thing. We can go back just to the previous acting National Police Commissioner, Pahlane, and let's go back behind that. We've had Pele, who didn't exactly end his tenure under, I mean, he was eventually cleared in the courtroom, but just the manner in which the tenure was ended. And we could still even go before that. Let's go as far back as Jackie Salibi, for example. We've had constant problems with our leadership in the organisation. The big question people ask, well, what do we do? Yep. It's a difficult question, but the organisation appears to be fraught with politics and that kind of influence within the leadership in the organisation. I was speaking to an analyst, Zianda Stierman, a short while ago. She looks at policy issues and the leadership within the SAPS, and she was telling me that we need a massive shake-up within the organisation. We've heard it all before. How do you actually go about doing it?
It's a massive shake-up, but also it's change of culture, isn't it? Surely,
absolutely.
All the way. Yeah. So, Barry, any response at all at the present moment from the presidency, from the police itself?
No, not at this stage. You know, you're hearing that line, can neither confirm nor deny. But I think just given what we're dealing with here, I think it would be prudent on them to come out and say something at some point, because this hits straight at the confidence in the SAPS. And again, I point, we're going to an election in a month's time where the police will play a very significant role. And I think we need some explanations from the authorities or the government itself.
You think his job is on the line?
I think it is. Let's just look what's happened. I mean, it's become to the surface far more prominently recently is this feud between Minister Barry Bateman and Khehla Sitole. When they questioned on it at various press conferences, they would deny that there's anything, that there still remains a cordial relationship. But we know that there is tension under the surface. And of course, if there is that kind of tension between your political leadership and your administrator within the organisation, it just adds further problems to what is a very critical component of the South African government.
Okay, Barry, thank you so much. As always, good reporting. We'll wait to hear from the presidency and from the police itself. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Barry Bateman there. He's been covering that story and will continue to do so for us here on eNCA.